All right, in our first story, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is weighing an unprecedented penalty for Didi, the Uber of China, after they ignored Chinese regulators and went public anyway. If you remember last week, we covered China's official crackdown on US IPOs of their own companies. That was episode 1244. Well, there's more news to report, and I'm wondering, what is China's endgame here? Why are they going after their Google, their Uber, their Amazon, their Square? What is China's endgame here? Well, I've got some insights on it, and let's talk a little bit about it. This was first reported in Bloomberg just this morning. Chinese regulators, I'm quoting here, see the ride-hailing giant's decision to go public, despite pushback from the Cyberspace Administration of China, as a challenge to Beijing's authority, according to Bloomberg's sources. Okay, that's really interesting. A company in China challenging the Chinese Communist Party? That seems pretty bold, especially in the face of, Jack Ma and Ant and ByteDance. Really interesting. Well, Chinese officials responded by starting an on-site investigation at Didi's headquarters with members from the following government agencies attending. Number one, Chinese Cyberspace Administration, the Ministry of Public Security, the Ministry of State Security, the Ministry of Natural Resources, along with tax, transportation, other antitrust regulators. I mean, this would be the equivalent of like the FDA, FTC, FAA, CIA, FBI, everybody's coming to your offices. And this has got to be the most terrorizing thing for a group of entrepreneurs to have this many people show up. 5 different agencies? If this is true, it's crazy. And according to the story, regulators are weighing a couple of different punishments on top of not letting people download the app, which was what happened a week or two ago. Now they're talking about a fine. Okay. How big is the question? A suspension of certain operations. Oh boy, that's not good. The introduction of a state-owned investor. Oh, the state gets to own a piece? Now it's starting to sound like a shakedown. That sounds like the most likely one. A tiny fine, which is kind of like a VIG. They're kind of getting their little tax through a fine. Who gets that money? Interestingly, that'll be an interesting question. Where does that money go? Whose pockets does it go in? The states? Where does that money get recycled to? Or a potential forced delisting or withdrawal of Didi's U.S. shares. And here's the quote, although it's unclear how such an option would play out. That would be kind of an international incident. If you said to the U.S. markets and investors in the United States who bought these shares, or in Europe or anywhere else in the world, you are now getting money back for your shares, I think that means no more Chinese companies going public in the West. The end. You're going to go public, do it on your markets. But this could be, I don't think that this is China's endgame. I think they want access to international markets. So this is kind of weird. What's going on here? You have to wonder, is the Chinese government acting in coordination here or not? And what is their endgame? What is the goal? So Didi shares dropped 7.4% to $10.65 at the opening bell today. And since China began blocking Didi's downloads, the market cap for Didi has fallen over 20 billion, from 70 billion to 50 billion, which is just crazy. And you remember that they got the Cyberspace Administration. I can't believe they're using the word cyber in the name of their organizations, the regulatory bodies. But this is very similar to what happened to Jack Ma's Ant Financial, which was blocked from going public 2 days before its trading debut. So in China, you're going to face quick regulation, and it's not going to be a debate like it is in the United States. Some other quotes from the article. Regulators urge Didi to ensure the security of its data before proceeding with the IPO, or to shift the location to Hong Kong or mainland China, where disclosure risks would be lower. The people said regulators didn't explicitly forbid the company from going public in the US, but they felt certain Didi understood the official instructions, they said. Why is this quote important? Because China did the exact same thing to ByteDance back in March, as we covered last week in the news. So what ByteDance did wind up caving to the CCP, and their CEO resigned shortly after. It seems like Didi may have stood up to the CCP or taken a different interpretation and went ahead with their IPOs. And now comes the negotiation to how this goes forward. The CCP, if I'm reading this correctly, wanted Didi to IPO in Hong Kong or China, where disclosure risks would be lower. So is China afraid that its largest tech companies are inflating numbers, or there's some lack of truth here. That's one speculation, I guess. And maybe the US market is too stringent about disclosures, or maybe, China just wants these companies to be public in their country. They want to reap the benefits. They want to have more controls. That seems more likely. So this could be the great, I don't want to say disconnection, but it does feel like the integration of the West and China and the financial markets is now been frozen, and it might start to reverse. So there's going to be this pause. Now, does that mean we're not going to make our iPhones in China? That seems like that would be really hard to do. Does it mean Apple's not going to get to sell iPhones in China? I don't think that's happening. But the NBA or movies occurring in China, that seems like it could come off the table, and that might not happen in the future years. We might not have access to those markets with our cultural products, and that's fine with me. Honestly, who cares if we lose 10% or 20% of Disney's revenue or the NBA's revenue in China? If we can't get to an understanding with them about reciprocity, and we can't have some basic trending of human rights in the right direction, or disclosures in the right direction, I think it's time for the West to maybe step back 20% in this relationship. Certainly, Taiwan is going to become the hot button issue in the coming years, and the silicon and the chips made in Taiwan, we need to not be dependent on China. And I think it's kind of lame that, the NBA and Hollywood are so enamored with China and so virtue signaling about so many issues here in America, but you'll never see anybody in Hollywood talk about the 3 million Uyghurs in concentration camps, being tortured, being forced sterilized. They will not talk about newspapers and journalists being jailed in Hong Kong and Hong Kong being taken over, and they won't talk about Taiwan. So the most virtue signaling athletes, actors, directors, and studio heads are silent on China's human rights violations. Lame. Let's just disengage from China on a cultural basis, and then we'll figure out when it comes to building products and things that are going to be a little harder to become independent. We can figure that out later, but let's have the great unraveling begin. I think it's better for everybody. If they want to pursue a version of humanity which is communist and authoritarian, and we want democracy, let's move our factories to other countries that are democracies or, less authoritarian. It's a no-brainer for America. It's a little bit of pain for a lot of gain, in my mind, for the human species. If you're a founder, you need to check out Dell for Entrepreneurs. They have amazing exclusive benefits for members. Entrepreneurs can get free expedited delivery, exclusive offers, and up to 6% back in rewards. You can finance your entire IT project with Dell Financial Services, and you'll have a dedicated startup IT advisor to help you with any and all tech questions. Dell has a product line that was engineered with entrepreneurs in mind. Dell's line of XPS laptops and tablets were built for mobility. They're gorgeous, and they have longer lasting battery life to increase efficiency when you're on the go. Plus, Dell is the world's #1 monitor company, so you can pair your new XPS machine with the perfect monitor to realize your vision. In fact, I've got two 27-inch monitors on either side of my desk right now, turned from horizontal to vertical. Boom! Huge amounts of content to keep me really efficient. It is absolutely fantastic. Over there on my other desk, I have two desks in my office, a standing desk and a regular one. I have a 49-inch curved, beautiful Dell monitor. Now that's like a whole different level. That's like founder CEO level, but if you want to invest in it, I think it's well worth it because I can have 4 windows up. I like the 2 different setups. It gets me into 2 different mindsets. Once again, members of Dell for Entrepreneurs receive additional 5% off on select products, including the XPS line, which you're going to love. And they'll help with any IT projects you may have. Go to launch.co/Dell, launch.co/Dell, and sign up for a free IT consultation and 5% off. Get that coupon today.